Limit consumption. The first cough came on a Monday in a newsroom that smelled of toner, old coffee, and wet salt. Max kept a chipped mug on his desk and a tide chart thumbtacked above his monitor. Blue circles marched through the week like a stubborn clock. The cough was dry and fussy, a lint trap catching air. He ignored it the way he ignored the hairline crack in the window by the police blotter, noting it, promising himself he'd deal with it, continuing on. He was finishing a feature on the town's clam festival. Paper plates and smiles, kids with drawn butter shining their cheeks, a parade led by a Shriner in a tiny car that hissed like a kettle. He cared more than he liked to admit whether the captions were clean. He thought about how the clams tasted like the inside of a penny. He typed the word briny, deleted it, typed clean, and felt like a thief in a grocery aisle. By Wednesday, the cough had learned a new sound, a wet little flap at the end, like a page turning the wrong way. The editor, Dolores, watched him over her glasses and slid a jar of pharmacy lozenges across the desk. He took one and let it ping against his teeth. The newsroom clock had died last winter. The police scanner served as their metronome. Static. A listless voice. The soft ping of roadkill reports. Max typed and tried not to breathe too deeply. At lunch, he walked to the harbour. The tide slunk out, boats tilted on grey ribs. Children hunted clams with orange buckets while mothers called from the rise. A man in a blue apron hosed a stainless table. The runoff rainbowed and threaded a storm drain. The hose knocked metal with a hollow note. Max tried to name the smell and failed. On Thursday, the state posted an advisory. Limit consumption, monitor symptoms, seek care for a persistent cough. The paper ran it below the fold. Max wrote the headline and wondered whether neutrality was also a choice. He knew the merchants and the way a warning could flatten a weekend. His apartment sat over a nail salon. Acetone lived in the carpet. After sunset, as the tide pushed its breath up the street, the cough changed, a percussion from the inside. He spat and saw a pink thread vanish in the swirl. He rinsed the sink until it felt honest and pressed a towel to his mouth. Sleep came in elastic bands that snapped him awake. He hovered in the doorway between bedroom and bath, light switches on both sides arguing about right. He pressed cool fingertips to his neck and listened to the building settle. Somewhere below, a compressor clicked and hummed. In the alley, a cat unspooled a question. In his chest, the cough rehearsed an aria he did not know how to stop. Friday brought the first ambulance on Breakwater Road. Max watched a woman set a laundry basket on the driveway and stand beside it, undecided. By evening, the advisory hardened into quarantine. The bridge was clamped with sawhorses. Troopers turned cars. The ramp locked. Max filed while Dolores pinned maps. Red flags crept along the coast. The lab didn't pick up. Saturday morning, the cough opened like a door he hadn't wanted to know was there. He sat up slowly, folding himself like a map. He thought of ordinary things. The neighbour's turkey baster for succulents, Dolores's emergency quarters taped to the printer, the way children splayed their fingers in the mud at low tide. The first bleeding came after he brushed his teeth. It was not dramatic. Red freckles dotted the foam, confetti at a party he'd missed. He spat and waited for the mirror to turn from person to problem. His lips were chapped from the ocean, and the air conditioner, which he now recognized, had been coughing too. A low complaint no one had called a symptom. He walked to the waterfront, despite the signs. Tape sagged between sawhorses. The flats were empty. The clams lay just under the skin of the world. Max pressed his fingers into the mud and felt the faintest movement, as if the ground were inhaling. That night, he dreamed in clicks. On Sunday, the bleeding moved under the skin, constellations on his forearms. The waiting room filled with quiet people studying their hands. Tissues bloomed, gauze pressed to the corners of eyes. Max photographed his cuffs and shoes and once retrieved a fallen bottle for an old man. The university lab called at noon. An unfamiliar voice said, "Vector, novel, opportunistic, asked whether he'd eaten shellfish. Max admitted to tasting one at the festival and left the flats unmentioned. The voice said the thing in the mollusks wasn't bacteria, not quite a worm, not anything that obeyed the old rules. "New to us," the voice said, and the phrase felt like a tide turning in a narrow cut. He went home and lay on the bathroom tile, because tile knows how to be neutral. The grout lines made a grid he could count. He remembered a winter when his father taught him to breathe through a scarf. He remembered a woman in college who laughed with her whole face and said the ocean was only pretending to be one thing. He remembered an interview with the harbour master about a boat coming in empty, the men having caught nothing but stories and selling them poorly. By dusk, the quarantine stretched along the Atlantic like a suture. The radio recited towns as if taking attendance. Standing became a negotiation. He opened the window. Evening entered with diesel, hot tar, and someone grilling despite everything. His lungs shuddered and tried to speak. Night arrived with a quiet that contained every noise. Pipes murmured. A siren chose a direction. Messages blinked. The bleeding mapped him. Eyes briefly laced, ears drummed, joints softened. He understood without drama that he was a coastline and something had come in on the tide to measure him. Toward morning, Max wrote a lead about ordinary things changing their minds. A towel, a mug, a hose, a tide chart with its faithful circles, the scanner whispering a town's pulse. "Naming is not knowing," he wrote. "The sea delivers stories without caring who prints them." At sunrise, gulls rasped over the roofs. The traffic light blinked. Down at the harbour, boats rested. In the hospital, someone kept coughing. Max slid the notebook under the bathroom door, as if mailing it to a future he could trust. When the knock came, it was gentle, the way men knock when the thing they bring is already inside. Max looked at his hands, then at the towel, then at the mirror. Words felt like furniture in a room that had been emptied, still taking up space out of habit. "Max?" A small voice from the hallway. He answered with movement, opening the door. Suits, masks, careful eyes, gloved hands reached, not unkindly. Behind them, a neighbour held a pot plant and looked as if she had forgotten why. Somewhere outside, a siren reconsidered and fell silent. They asked about exposure. He spoke about the festival, a single clam, the patience of mud, and the lab voice that had said everything is new until you name it. He mentioned the messy story on his floor. They nodded and made a moving space around him that went where he went. Sunlight held nothing back. Flags lifted and fell. A gull stole a sandwich, a truck reversed. The bridge glittered behind its sawhorses. Somewhere, new pins met other maps. Max coughed, the world shivered and steadied, and for a breath agreed to be ordinary. He did not know whether the parasite wanted to live with him, or instead of him, or what the story would do once it left his hands. He knew only that tomorrow's tide chart would be right, even if right had changed. He closed his eyes and let them lift him, briefly easy to carry.